Welcome to Social Critic. Today we're going to talk about gender, gender identity, and pronouns. This is a particularly sensitive topic, and I feel it necessary to begin with a clear statement that I have nothing but respect for trans people. I believe that they are incredibly courageous, and that they go through great efforts to be better seen, better respected, and to modify our society to make it a more inclusive one. That being said, the conversation that exists around gender, gender identity, and pronouns, I find can often be weaponized. And I think that in spaces where we are attempting to create harmony, instead often we create enmity. So the point of this video is both to clarify a few things, as well as to contribute to a conversation that might be more productive around this issue. So, let's get right to it. There is a confusion between gender and gender identity. Gender belongs to the realm of linguistics, belongs to the realm of language. Sex is biological. Later we will come up with this concept of gender, which is somehow the personal expression of one's identity highly correlated to sex, but is in fact a later development. In other episodes, we will discuss homosexuality and how that, too, as an identity, is relatively new, even if same-sex relations have existed for time immemorial. Now, back to gender. So, gender belongs to the realm of language. English is, for the most part, a gender-neutral language. While we have he, she, and it, masculine, feminine, and neuter pronouns, for the most part, nouns and adjectives are without gender. Therefore, I use the word blue whether I'm talking about a table, someone's hair. It doesn't matter. The word is blue. There are no other forms. Those words that are gender-specific in English tend to be highly related to biological sex. So, actor and actress. In recent years, for political reasons, we have tended to rely on the traditionally masculine form of the word and doing away with feminine forms of these nouns. However, I wish to bring English speakers' attention to the fact that this is relatively unique to the English language, that other languages are entirely gendered, that one must employ gendered speech simply to convey basic thoughts, and that the genders of words clearly have nothing to do with biological sex whatsoever. In fact, these words across languages change gender. For example, bridge in French, le pont, or Italian, il ponte, is masculine form. In German, it's die Brücke. Okay, it's feminine. Conversely, the words for city, la ville, la città, are feminine in French and Italian, and der Berg in German, der Burg, rather, Berg is mountain, der Burg is masculine. So cities are feminine or masculine depending on the language that we're speaking presently. Obviously, cities are neither male nor female. Cities include both males and females within them. So, gender is first and foremost a function of language. Now, in many languages, the masculine form is considered the generalized form. And in English, we've also embraced this concept. We've done away, for the most part, with actress and insist on calling women who act actors as well. With regards to gender identity, the truth of the matter is that the vast majority of people continue to identify themselves with the traditional genders associated directly with biological sex. That is, those who are born male continue to think of themselves as he, him. And those born biological females continue to think of themselves as she, her. The use of they to not distinguish between masculine and feminine has been relatively common over the past 100 years, but I would argue is somewhat confusing and not the best option. What the best option is up for debate, and I hope for that debate to continue. But to shed light on it, I would like to look at the second person pronoun. Okay? Because when people talk about pronouns, they're always talking about third person pronouns, right? The first person, I, we in the plural. The second person is you and you plural. Let's get back to that one in a second. The third person, he, she, it, they, them. Now, in the English language, just like in French and Spanish and Italian and German and Russian and Arabic and a whole number of languages, we used to have something called the tu, vous distinction. That is, we had a different form for formal you and the informal you. Most English speakers believe that thee and thou are words that express primarily some sort of formal speech because they are archaic, and the fact that they are archaic leads people to believe that they were also formal. Actually, the opposite is true. Thee and thou used to be the informal forms of the second person singular, and you was the formal form. In an attempt to democratize the language between the 18th and 19th centuries, especially in America, we did away with the informal form, and we call each other by the formal form, which, like in German, like in French, happens also to be the second person plural. Or in French, the second person plural. And Russian. I guess in German it's also like the third person singular. Anyway, I digress. This has created a very strange situation for us in English, where once the word you referred to a plurality, we have had to invent the form y'all in order to differentiate between the singular and the plural. This is the reason for which I do not believe using they is necessarily our best option. We currently maintain a distinction in the third person that is useful to us. It is useful to understand whether we are referring to one person or to many. Back to pronouns. So, pronouns will only ever arise, at least the third person pronouns that everyone references all the time, which I should say are also subject, object, and possessive pronouns. We'll get to some other varieties in just a minute. They only arise when a person is being referred to, not when they are being addressed. We continue to address people as you, regardless of gender. I say subject, object, and possessive pronouns because we have other kinds of pronouns as well. This, that, those are demonstrative pronouns. In English, this, that, these, those, all of our demonstrative pronouns are also neuter. They are gender neutral. In other languages, this does not exist. In Spanish, in French, in Italian, in Hebrew, in Arabic, everything is either masculine or feminine, including the very, very large category of words which belong to inanimate objects, cannot possibly have a biological sex, and nevertheless are gendered and require gendered agreement all the time. Now, English does offer us a gender-neutral term. It. There's a neuter pronoun. However, transgendered people are not without gender. They are not neuter. They are not it. And so for this reason, I actually don't have so much problem with these new pronouns, z and zer, as others might. However, they remain unconventional. I think that beginning interactions with asking a person's pronouns creates the kind of tiptoe society that I would not like to live in. The vast, vast majority of us will continue to identify as either male or female. And I believe it incumbent upon those that are outside of the norm to present their differences to mainstream society so that we may understand them and respect them. I think that it is unreasonable to expect those with little or no experience with what is a particular journey to each individual that varies drastically from one trans person to the next. For those of us in mainstream society to take the assumption that nothing is concrete and therefore we must ask into this void of relativity at all times, what is anything? Because what is the point of pronouns at all? Pronouns replace a noun. That is to say, my name is Avi. When first referring to me, you should call me Avi, and only later call me he or him. Because if you simply employ he or him, no one will know who you're talking about. So the pronouns replace a specific thing, right? If I say, I closed it, what did I close? Did I close the door? Did I close the computer? Did I close my wallet? Who knows what I closed, right? So it on its own is insufficient. Likewise, each trans person is first and foremost his or her or their name. That is the primary identifier. The pronouns are a placeholder. So we don't have an endless list of placeholders because languages exist around convention, and these conventions are what allow us to understand each other. It is extremely important that we reference the same things in the words that we use. Otherwise, while we may have the same sounds coming out of our mouths, we are not conveying meaning in a way that is effective. So, to wrap this up and point out that this, like all of the introductory episodes, is an opening to greater topics, I would say that gender is not in and of itself offensive. Gender is not directly related to biological sex. Gender is a function of language. Pronouns change over time. If we look at the second person pronoun, we no longer use thee and thou, which were common in English for most of modern English's existence. As with any new topic, we can't expect those that are recently introduced to it to already be masters of its sensitivities. And we exist at a time that we have the ability to effect change in this arena in a way that creates greater harmony, greater respect, and greater dignity throughout our society. So, I hope you tune in for the next episode on colonialism.